I've always had a fascination with memories and how they are invoked by the simplest everyday things like objects and smells, places and photographs. I was even more so interested in their relationship to death. All these thoughts came crashing together when in March of this year a musical duo named Hers died suddenly and tragically. I had been an avid fan of theirs since their first London show and they held a special place in my heart. After hearing the news, I went straight away to find the first t-shirt I had brought at their first performance I'd been to, and the memories came flooding back like a tidal wave. I remembered the small venue being filled with the energy and pure delight of everyone in it, and their engagement with us as if we were all childhood friends becoming a part of some secret beginning, all as if it was yesterday. I remembered how my brother and I had bonded over their music and couldn't stop talking about it as we sprinted down the street to find a cash point, and ran all the way back as fast as we could to buy some of their merchandise, which was selling fast. I picked the very last t-shirt they had, and I didn't care that it was so big it was like a dress on me. I didn't mind at all because all I wanted was a tangible piece of that night to hold on to. I looked at this t-shirt now, which before that day had only really been used as a pyjama top, but now it felt like one of my most precious possessions. What draws me to memories of the dead is that they are almost a collaborative combination from the minds of everyone who knew the person. In death they can no longer contribute, so you have to rely on yourself and others to learn more. Once you lose someone you love, all you really have left are their objects and their memory. It seems so important to have something tangible to hold on to in the physical world, and also in our minds, so I began to think of what objects other people might have. This led me to Hampshire to interview a vicar and a nurse, and then to London to interview the people around me, and lastly to Cornwall, where I met with a life celebrant and an artistic duo named Casting Ashes, who for a living combine all three important things: memories, objects, and death. I asked them all to choose an object left to them by a loved one that had passed away, and asked them two questions. The first, what is the significance of this object? And the second, what memories does this object invoke?
It's part of it's one of the set of 3 knives that I inherited from my granddad when he died. But yeah, this is the one that I used to play with the most because it kind of fit into my hand, and it's the one that my granddad taught me how to play, well, not play with knives, but how to handle knives safely. I learnt with these are the ones that he had, so it's the first knife I ever learnt to use. I expect my distinct memory of me playing with this is him walking into his bedroom, because he used to keep them in his room, in he built this big wood display cabinet thing out of a very dark state, similar to this sort of colour wood, but a bit browner, and I used to sneak in there when he was out and play with his knives. And he caught me seeing how sharp it was by cutting a hole in his bedsheet with it. Shortly after that is when I received my first ever penknife, so I wouldn't keep messing around with his knives and I could go and play with my own. But yeah, so I just remember him just teaching me how to hold a knife and how to cut stuff, and it was always this one because I was always fascinated with his set.
This belonged to my grandmother. We used to call her Little Nan. She was a tiny little woman from Lancashire. This was a wedding gift to her and my grandfather, and they were married for, I don't know, this lasted all their married life anyway, and we still use it. It's a really good knife, stainless steel, it cuts really well, and I always thought the handle, which was decorative, I always thought it was ivory, and I thought, oh, this is a really special knife, it was really an expensive gift, and perhaps it was, but over the years what's happened is the ivory has worn off and it's actually not ivory at all. So, yeah, she didn't have much, my grandmother, and I suppose, so I didn't inherit anything from her in the way of jewellery or any sort of special items, but I've got her pots and pans and her bread knife, and I suppose it means a lot to me because she would have used it every day. Well, I guess it would be of my grandmother's hands and the way she was a very industrious sort of person. If you would say to her, oh, what did you do today, Nan? She'd say, well, I cleaned the back bedroom and I washed the windows, and so she was always working, even though she really didn't need to. She'd always be busy working. Yeah, so I suppose this just sort of reminds me of her, and it signifies who she was and what was important to her, and I think it was working hard and she was quite religious. She was a Methodist, and she didn't preach it, but she lived a very sort of wholesome kind of life.
Okay, so this is the barometer that belonged to my late grandparents. I lost my grandmother 5 years ago. My granddad died 25 years ago, who I was very close to, but my grandmother is more recent. And when my grandmother passed, my mum said to me, "Is there anything from her bungalow you would like?" And my mum couldn't believe when I said, "Can I have the barometer?" And she said, "Really?" I said, "Yes, because this is the first thing I ever saw when I came into their house." And we used to live away from them when I used to come down from Wales and see them. I go in, see the barometer and sort of know I was there. It's really weird. So there's something special about it. I think it kind of still works, but I don't really mind if it doesn't work because it's part of them. And I think it might have even belonged to my grandfather's mother, possibly. We know it's old. So it's just part of the family, really. And I'm not into antiques, but it just reminds me of them. I just think of it on their wall, and it brings back the smells of their house and everything. And when we used to stay there and everything. So yeah, syrup sandwiches and all sorts of things. It just brings back really happy memories because I was really close to my grandparents. And it just, I don't know, it's just something, it helps you focus on something, I think. Like when I used to, we used to live in Wales, and I used to write to my grandparents when I was like 11. I used to write to them every week, like a real letter, you know. And when my grandmother died, my mum went through her stuff, and they'd kept all the letters I'd written to them, you know, which really sort of struck me that how important it was and everything. But it just, I don't know, just having part of their... I haven't really got photographs of them around or anything. I haven't got many photos at all, but this just seems to bring back the memories, yeah. We used to stay there a lot, and it was just something about, it seemed safe there, you know. And like when I was little, I used to dance on my granddad's feet, those sort of things, you know. When I look at it, it just brings me joy, you know, an instant thing, yeah.
This cup was used by my mother, Kate, when she used to come and stay with us to have her tea in. And I would always make her a cup of tea and take it to her with 2 digestive biscuits. And so it's known as her cup, really. She died in 2013, and this cup sits in our kitchen, and it's important because it's actually used. Every week we measure rice. It's the perfect measure for rice and water. And the significance of the memories that this cup has is of my mother sipping tea and conversations fleeting around and good times, I suppose.
Well, I'm Jill Brennan, and this is my husband Noel, and we have a business called Casting Ashes, and we're based in Cornwall, and it's quite an unusual business. We've only been doing it about 2 years. So what we do from here is we cast sculpture, but we can add a small amount of cremation ash to the cement as we're casting it, so that we get a memorial sculpture. So we were at a funeral, it was a family funeral, and it was the first time I'd been to a burial. So I said to Noel, "Is that what you'd want for yourself?" And because I'd only known cremation. And then you said...
I said no.
No.
I said I'd rather be cast into a sculpture.
Yeah, meaning his ashes cast into a sculpture. Which...
This one in particular was a lady whose husband had died, and they had a great fondness for walking. So it was a model of the last pair of boots the man had owned before he passed away.
So why we think casting ashes as something really special for people is that it's helping them keep loved ones close. And a lady that came in, and she came in upset because she'd had to go to the vet and they'd had to put down their cat, and she was really worried about her son, who was autistic, and she knew that he'd just really struggle to know that this had happened and to cope with it afterwards. And she said, "Look, can you do me something that's tangible that you can hold?" And a little bit like meditation stones, you can just sit with them and really feel a close connection then when you're wanting to just remember or talk to the person you love that you've lost.